Welcome everyone to Ricochet Community Call number 17. Today is April 12th. Thank you all for coming, and let's get started. All right, so we're going to run through first the Ricochet V2 release recap, just recap everything that went down, kind of give a overview of what went right, what went wrong. Then we're going to run through DAO Governance, talk about business development and media, and then walk through a quantitative review of the numbers and what has changed in terms of volume and things like that since the release of V2. Also in the V2 recap, we're going to talk about the overhaul of the Ricochet rexBank and talk about how I'm turning that into a super app and what's cool about that. All right. So Ricochet V2. Mike, would you like to speak on some of the V2 stuff that's went down?
Yeah, I mean, so what are we at today? Like 1.7 million in volume annually. That generates maybe like 50,000 in fees or whatever. I crunched the numbers, and I think between all the products, we were pretty close to breaking 100,000 in fees. So that's pretty good. Yeah, and like I kind of just dropped version 2 on everyone and then just like pieced out for 2 weeks because, to be honest, like it's just a total burnout trying to produce this stuff. Sonny knows I go through like cycles of development. So yeah, I'm still just chilling. I don't plan on doing any more like V2 stuff, though there are some things that need to be done. The first thing is the RIC USDC market got jailed, and it got jailed for a slightly different reason than things got jailed before. So I looked into it, and it's something that we addressed in like the base market contract. But when we extend the base contract, something wasn't like held over. So it's kind of an instance of like repeated code, though it was sort of necessary to do repeated code just in the way that things get overridden and extended. So that's something that we can fix and redeploy. It's not a huge issue. The support for version 1 markets has kind of stopped. I think a while ago we said we would stop it on like March 31st. And it was written into the docs like months and months ago that we would do it. Though I think we've been supporting them up until maybe like the beginning of this week. I think yesterday someone had reported that they weren't receiving like version 1 market distributions. And that's just because, I mean, for the most part, the keepers aren't really paying attention to the V1 markets right now. So if you haven't already, I sent the message out twice in the general channel, but you should stop streaming to those markets. And yeah, if like you close your stream, version 1 markets have the potential for like loss when you close your stream, but we can use subgraph to just figure out like how much did you potentially lose because of like closing your stream before a distribution. And we can like do a reimbursement for that. And then yeah, the referral program doesn't work, and I'm not actually sure why. Like I did the best I could. I wrote tests, those tests passed. When we go to deploy it, it doesn't work. And I'll be honest with everyone, it's just super depressing. And it just, one of the reasons that I'm like totally burned out is because like these contracts were up for 2 weeks and nobody tested that, right? Is it my job to do that after writing all the code and building the feature, right? Or is there anyone else here that actually uses these tools during that? Like, it was actually more than 2 weeks. It was like 3 weeks. And nobody really helped there. So I'm super let down, and that's a huge sag on my energy, just to know that like nobody is really paying attention. So that's the referral program issue. And next time we kind of stage contracts and they're up for 2 weeks, and I ask people to like, hey, try them out. I really expect people to sort of do that. This was a totally unavoidable issue. It's just, I don't think anyone really put in the work to test these contracts. So like I said, there's tests written for them. You can go see the tests. We can run the tests, but as far as why it didn't end up working out, not 100% sure. We had to deploy the V2 contracts, and then we had to like fix the jail issue, and then we had to deploy them again. So, maybe something broke, but the reality is we should have caught that as a team. And that should never have been an issue when we went to subsidize these contracts. So we'll have to wait on that. I think there's probably half a month worth of subsidies left. So we'll let them we'll let the subsidies run out. I mean, the reason we do the subsidies is just to sort of incentivize people from moving to contract as we make upgrades. The contracts are not upgradable, so that's the best that we have, is just sort of use incentives to kind of get people to close streams and reopen streams, even though it's some work. So yeah, that's all I have on version 2. Does anyone, Sonny, you want to add anything?
Is the RIC USDC Rex market the same contract as the other ones, or is it kind of like a little unique?
The Matic and the RIC contract are slightly unique because they deal with swapping super tokens. There's like no upgrade or downgrade when you're dealing with RIC. And then of course,
Right.
Matic is also a little different because the upgrade and downgrade to like wrapped Matic is not supported. So you have to deal with native Matic tokens. And you'll see in the contracts, like there's a separate, it was just the easiest thing to do because of the size of the contracts. There's a separate like Rex two-way market RIC, or Rex two-way market, Rex two-way RIC market. There's a separate contract for that has a slight modification. And then there's a Rex two-way Matic market, which has a slight modification. Ideally, if we get the contract sizes shrunk down, we can put that all into one contract address, or we can put that all into one contract. But there's just not enough room to have all that functionality, support for super token, native super tokens, and support for native Matic in one contract right now. All those contracts are basically 24 kilobytes. So even adding like console logs actually make the contracts too big at this point. So there's not really even room to do anything in those contracts. So.
Gotcha. All right. All right, so I'm just going to walk through the rexBank version 2. This is the overhaul of the rexBank that's basically turned into a super app, and having you, if you're borrowing from the rexBank, pay your interest in real time with a super fluid stream. Originally, what it is currently, it looks like we actually have a question, so I'm just going to let Jose unmute and ask it if he'd like.
Can I speak?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I don't usually do this because if go things the right way, I don't like to step up and talk. I think like some people suggested on Discord, the incentives for the developers are not enough. So I think saying people are not collaborating, I think it's not enough. I think that's not enough. I think something has to be changed.
Yeah, that's a great topic for discussion. Currently, we're just kind of on this agenda right now to talk about V2. We will get to that end the call where we're talking about kind of a free for all, and we can bring up that subject. Does that sound good?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah. So basically, currently the rexBank, you borrow and your interest liability accrues on your principal, and that interest revenue is not actually realized until you repay your loan. What this is doing, it's making you basically pay your interest in real time, so that there's no compounding on your original principal. And we as Ricochet, we realize that interest revenue in real time. So basically, I looked at a couple of ways to do this, and the easiest and the coolest way to do this was with the callback model, which basically turns the borrow, the repay, and the full repay functions into basically start and stop stream transactions. So for instance, let's say that the interest rate on the rexBank is 2%, and you were to start an interest payment stream to the rexBank at 20 USDC per month. That essentially means that you have borrowed 1,000 USDC because your interest payment of 20 USDC correlates to the interest on a loan of 1,000 USDC. As a result of that, the rexBank will respond to your interest payment stream by offering you a loan of 1,000 USDC. It'll transfer you 1,000 USDC. Now, let's say you were to reduce your loan, you were to reduce your interest payment stream down to 10 USDC per month. Well, now your effective loan becomes 500, which means that the rexBank will expect to pull 500 USDC from you to repay your loan. So what will happen is it will transfer from and pull that USDC from your wallet into the rexBank to do the repay, and your liability will go down. Now that begs the question, like, what if I don't have the allowance open? What if I don't have the USDC in my wallet to, have that repay actually happen? Well, in that case, since this is an update transaction, an update flow, the transaction will simply revert and no repayment will happen. This will be taken a step further in the delete flow transaction, but I'm going to talk about the borrow more transaction here. Basically, let's say you update to borrow more, like you up your stream from 20 USDC to the 30 USDC per month. Basically, we're going to compare over how much you previously had on loan, and we're going to basically transfer you an additional amount to basically match your current interest payment. So 2% on a 1,500 USDC loan would come down to 30 USDC per month interest payment stream. And so basically what you're doing is you're making the contract borrowing and repayment responsive to changes in your interest payment stream. Now the most interesting, biggest challenge here is the stop stream transaction. What are you going to do if someone just cancels their stream, right? Cancels their interest payment stream. So the way you deal with that is you just punish them with collateral or liquidation. So if you cancel your stream, but you don't have a full allowance or you don't have enough balance for full repayment of your loan, then we're simply going to come after your collateral. And so that is basically the deal here. It kind of adds a layer of, you have to be careful as a borrower here, because if you fail to keep your USDC balance topped up and maintain that interest payment stream, you run the risk of cancellation of your interest payment stream and you'll face liquidation. You also have to make sure that you have your allowance up and your balance up when you actually go for stopping that stream. So that's as simple as like a UI kind of thing, but this is how we can solve this streamed interest payments super app here for our rexBank, and that's kind of the model I put forth here. Looks like we got a couple of comments in the chat. Okay, so in the UI, you can also batch approve and stream so they can happen in the same transaction. Yeah, I was thinking about that, like require you to have the allowance up before you start the stream. That might be a little redundant because anyone can just kind of cancel their approval. But yeah, I think putting the approval into the start stream transaction would definitely remove a step for the user. So that's a good idea.
It also avoids having to do like an unlimited approval, because then each time you adjust your stream, we can just approve exactly as much as needs to be approved.
Yeah. All right. Glad you guys appreciate the idea. So anyway, in terms of my progress, I basically feel like the contracts are there. I'm just kind of like testing more and more edge cases, working on cleaning up the tests and making them very comprehensive. The actual like work, I'll probably link after the call in the Discord where my branch is and where I'm working on this, so you guys can kind of see it, see these new contracts. And yeah, I think hopefully this will go mainnet soon. Hopefully maybe like May or June. So that's kind of my timeline here. What if someone terminated their stream and doesn't replay? Wouldn't the app be jailed? No, so we wouldn't jail. We would simply, if they terminate their stream and they don't repay, meaning that they either haven't put up enough allowance for the USDC token to the rexBank super app, or they don't have enough balance in their wallet, then we will simply come after their collateral. We will liquidate their collateral, and we'll take that, but we won't revert in the transaction. We're simply liquidating instead of reverting, because if we reverted, then you're right, that would jail, and that would be no good.
Yeah, we would just transfer however much collateral you put down. We would just transfer enough away from you so that you have no debt anymore. So if you have
Right.
$1,000 in debt, you
Yeah,
have $1,000
we would-
in debt and $2,000 in collateral, you would just close or your stream would be like closed, and then you would lose $1,000 in collateral to repay your $1,000 in debt.
Yeah.
So
and
you're not getting liquidated because you're under collateralized. You're getting liquidated because you stop paying your interest.
exactly, which
Yeah.
yeah, you got to be careful about. But so the collateral collection will be done by keepers.
No,
it's
it can be done in the same
it is in the same
transaction.
transaction.
Yeah,
it's
'cause
basically
you're-
in the delete flow callback. It's basically a liquidate function, which contains a transfer function, which basically take
Yeah.
your collateral and send it to the bank factory owner.
And I guess it's not really a liquidation because we can't, in the closure, we can't swap your collateral.
Right.
Because that can revert, but the transfer won't revert because you'll have put that on deposit. We know that you have that collateral. And then, yeah, I mean, the only case we have to handle is the case where they just don't have enough collateral to like repay their debt. But that should be pretty avoidable with like setting a collateralization ratio that's high.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah, but I see, Fran, it won't revert as long as you don't add slippage. I just don't think that that's a good idea. Especially for like large transactions.
Yeah.
I think it's probably initially better that we just take whatever the collateral is and figure out as like a group what we want to. LPs love unchecked swaps. Yeah, they do.
yeah. Also, the traditional liquidate is still available, so you can, like, the keepers will be there watching. If someone's collateralization ratio falls too down because of either the price of the collateral token, that being RIC, there is the possibility to go and just do a liquidation straight up of the person's collateral, not contingent upon like the cancellation of their interest payment flow. So that basic liquidation is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions from the audience? This is really cool. Thanks, Fran.
Yeah, this solves the issue of like people just borrowing everything and then they have no obligation to repay it back. They can just hold it.
I mean, when you think about like traditional, borrowing and lending, you get borrowers, they pay their interest at the end of every month, and that cash flow is realized by banks. Why not bring that to DeFi? So that's kind of
why not? And why not just do it in real time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Even cooler.
And why not make it autonomous so that we don't have to like call people up?
Right.
And nobody has to like go in and press the button to liquidate accounts. They just get liquidated.
All right, cool. All right, so let's move to talk a little about DAO governance. I know Mike made a move to add a third multi-sig signer. Would you like to speak on that?
Not really. I mean, it was an emergency thing because I was going to be away from my computer for a while. But yeah, I mean, we have to move away from having multi-sig signers and move to a case where like the flow of funds is autonomous. That's just how DAOs work, right? It's autonomous. So yeah, I mean, and I put forward, kind of this idea that we would just kind of vote on budgets and we would put the RIC into a treasury. The protocol fees would feed back into the treasury, and presumably protocol fees would, buy the tokens back on the market so that there's tokens to continue the flow, and it just creates this closed loop where all we have to do is like as a token holder, we just sort of vote on the flow rates out of the contract or out of the treasury. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything to say here. We just did it really quickly. The multi-sig needs to be adjusted. I mean, we can hold a vote like Sushi Swap style if we want, right? Like everyone posts on Twitter, like I'm applying to be a signer on Ricochet DAO. There's just coordination and work to do that. But if we want to do that as that's what the proposal mechanism is for. So
Awesome. All right, so BD and all right, so first off, Fran did have the chance to speak on, I believe, the InstaDApp community call, and he mentioned our referral program, which kind of got the InstaDApp folks interested in us. Basically, InstaDApp, it's a kind of like a DeFi dashboard where you can manage a bunch of different your DeFi positions, LP positions, your Aave borrow and lending positions, all that in one kind of consolidated interface. And so they were interested in having a dollar cost averaging app up on there, and they reached out here, and we kind of just talked a little about what that would look like. Basically, they're in need of so when you interface with Ricochet, all you're doing is you're starting a stream and you're also subscribing to the distribution. So with InstaDApp, in order to integrate Superfluid or Ricochet into InstaDApp, you'd have to work with these connectors that basically allow you to hook up these smart contract functions into the InstaDApp interface. And so that's a little bit of like a technical challenge. And I did point the InstaDApp people over to the Superfluid folks in case, because this is kind of like more of a Superfluid challenge because you're working in the subscribe and the start stream transactions into the InstaDApp connectors. But I think in the future you will see, okay, here's how we'll try to integrate Ricochet into InstaDApp. There's also a front end challenge there. How will the Ricochet app be reflected on the InstaDApp interface? And so overall, I think this is a great initiative. InstaDApp, they bring tons of users to the different protocols that are listed and hooked onto there, and it's just a very clean way to get started with any kind of DApp. And so to have Ricochet on there, definitely bring in an influx of users. Everyone wants a way to responsibly invest in crypto. People are getting tired of trying to buy the highs and the lows and time the markets, and Ricochet offers in my opinion, the best way to dollar cost average. And so kind of a good opportunity for them and for us. Another BD topic here is setting up a RIC budget. Mike brought this up in the business development channel the other day. Basically, it's the idea that we've kind of been throwing RIC around. We've been paying our bounties. We've been tossing them into the markets for subsidies, but we haven't been tracking them so well. We haven't had like a budget that clearly delineates, okay, RIC is going to be going here. Here's where it went. Here's where it will go, and kind of that clear kind of supply path that most projects have. It'll be very good to have in our project as well, so people can gauge where the RIC token is going and kind of add an additional layer of transparency, and also just a financial overview of what we're doing with the financial firepower that the RIC governance token gives us. So Mike, I know you brought that up. Is there anything you'd add there?
Yeah, I mean, the idea is like to not have anyone touching the flow of funds and like have votes done with the token holders, right? That's how autonomy works, and decentralization works. So like that diagram that I whipped together pretty quickly in Lucidchart, like you see there's basically two flow rates, right? There's a flow rate for product subsidies, and then there's a flow rate for the RexForce team, right? So like those would have to be set up in contracts such that in order to change those, you basically call an on-chain vote, right? This is sort of how a lot of the other projects do their treasuries, right? They're not using snapshot, they're using like an on-chain governance mechanism. So we have the same thing. And then like ideally, like the products, I don't know if Rex Market's the thing, but really that's just say Rex products, right? Rex products generate protocol fees, right? That's how it works. And the idea would be like those protocol fees feed back into the contract, and then those protocol fees get converted to more RIC tokens. And so you end up with this more or less closed loop cycle where the only outflow from the loop is to people who work on the project, right? And of course, like subsidies, right? So incentives, I guess. So over time, I mean, I don't think the products would need to be incentivized. Like once they find a good product market fit, I don't think there's any reason to keep subsidizing. So in the long run, it's kind of just like a loop where the team gets paid, or the team, gets incentivized to, and then, those people produce more value, and that creates more protocol fees. And then those protocol fees are converted to RIC. and you can see how this kind of like a closed loop ecosystem. So yeah, and then there's like other parts of the flow, which is like, obviously we have the rexBank, and obviously the rexBank is actually a pretty good product that produces a good amount of protocol fees. You know, I think it still makes it's a good percentage of the protocol fees that are generated. So, you know, there's probably outflows from the Rex treasury into the bank, into the rexBank that people can use. And yeah, so.
Awesome.
But yeah, this is still like a sort of an early thing. I mean, the first step is just to figure out that RexForce contract so that we can kind of get that set up. And then also as a first step, kind of agreeing on like, what do we want to set? And I think we should probably set it for like, you know, a good amount of time, like try to budget at least 3 months at a time and just say like, here's what the outflow of the remaining RIC tokens looks like. This is the rate. And then maybe, you know, on a 3-month cadence, kind of just like reviewing whether we need to adjust the rate or not, based on, you know, whatever's going on.
Yeah, sounds good. Next topic is the Polygon ecosystem DAO grant. So we applied for this, I believe, back in January. We weren't accepted to it because the parameters of the grant system, of the grant program, were a little they were looking for a different kind of projects that were more kind of like I can't even remember. I think they had like a TVL requirement. They had a also the size of the grant we were asking for was just beyond what they were currently supplying at the time. And so they overhauled their grant program, and they were giving out $50,000 grants for projects that have a TVL of at least 50,000, over 500 Twitter followers and Discord members, and a few other parameters that we, you know, well exceed. For those of you interested about the TVL, though, the Rex markets don't, you know, carry much value locked at any one time. The Rex Bank has like over 150,000 USDC alone, so that clears it like threefold. And so yeah, we're cleared there. And so we had our community member Daniel, who's been monitoring the grant ecosystem program, go ahead, revise our draft, revise our application from last time, and resubmit it to this new program. And we're looking forward to hearing back from Polygon regarding our grant. And so, you know, just overall, we do have a good relationship with Polygon. We have been we got like kind of a group set up with them, and they've been very helpful with us, setting up AMAs and offering overall support. And so yeah, hopefully this will be a fruitful endeavor. Yeah, that's all I have here. I'm not sure if Daniel's on the call to speak on it. He is not. All right, then we can move on to the last BD topic. That is the fact that I am Sunny, even though my name is Ricochet Exchange on here. I'm Sunny. I will be stepping down from my post here as lead media and business development. So for those of you who have been around the Ricochet block, I'm kind of the guy who does all the publications. I, you know, publish things on our Medium. I do our Twitter posts. I, you know, draft these community call slides. I also am kind of the point of contact for people that want to integrate with Ricochet and do partnerships. And kind of my long-term goal is to become a stronger Web3 developer. And I was able to find a role over at Superfluid that kind of more aligned with my long-term career objectives. And so I'll be working developer experience over there starting next month. And I will be, you know, offloading my tasks here at Ricochet to community members, and, you know, basically documenting and, you know, putting copious notes up on the processes that I follow routinely, so that it's easier to that's easy to backfill my responsibilities. And yeah, it's been a long time coming here at Ricochet. It's been an awesome experience. I am a business student, so I was able to apply a lot of things I learned in my classes here, and meet a lot of really cool people along the way. Got to be a leader here, and I think that was a very valuable experience overall. And yeah, I think it's kind of a bit of an entrepreneurial experience, and that's something that I'm gonna, you know, cherish for a long time. I will be obviously continuing in the Ricochet community. I'm not abandoning us at all. I will be continuing in more kind of an ad hoc capacity, working on bounties and, you know, things that pique my interest. So for instance, this Ricochet rexBank overhaul is one of those things. I'll be working on, GitHub issues, preferably on the smart contract end as I see fits, as well as on the media creation end. If I want to write an article or something on Ricochet, I'll work on that. Just like you guys, I'm just going to be a regular contributor. I'm going to lose my blue kind of a moderator role and just go green. So that's kind of the what's going to transpire with me stepping down from media and BD. And I'll also be so I have accumulated a lot of RIC tokens here. I earned 40,000 for my work since the founding of Ricochet, and so I don't want the community to fear that I'm kind of like rug pulling or something. I'll dump that. So I will deploy a time lock contract and basically lock those away for 6 months. And yeah, so that's kind of the rundown here. I'm glad that the community kind of valued my contributions over the last basically like 9 months here at Ricochet, and I'm glad I was able to make a sizable impact. And I'm looking forward to kind of this next chapter. So yeah, thank you for the positivity. Yeah, if anyone just has any questions on that, feel free to unmute. But I think that's a pretty comprehensive walkthrough. All right. Cool. Anyway, on to the quantitative review. Let's talk about the numbers. So as you can see, after V2, our RIC payouts are starting to pick up again. People are starting to get back on the bounties as our kind of a tech infrastructure settles down from that whole V2 overhaul. Yeah, so let's head to the Dune dashboard. All right, let's make clear this Zoom video panel. All right, here we go. So yeah, total value streaming, it has spiked significantly. It was at like 4,000, 5,000, 7,000 back in May, and back in March, and it's picked up considerably due to V2 and the subsidies. We're at total value streaming, an annualized total value streaming of 1.2 million. So that translates to $25,000 in fee revenue annualized. And yeah, we have currently 51 streams going to the new markets. I believe there are still a bunch of streams to the previous markets that need to be canceled. But yeah, so looks like the overall user base is growing for the new V2 DApp, and yeah, the fees are coming in with it. Mike, anything you'd add there?
Yeah, I hope that drop isn't someone getting liquidated for a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Also, one thing is with the previous Rex markets, it was easy to rickroll. Basically, you would just start a stream into the app for like USDC to ETH, and then you would start a stream from ETH to USDC, and basically capture the subsidies both ways. With these Rex markets, since they're two-way, we can't. We're not letting you basically start a stream from the other way with the same address, right? So as a result, you can't really do the same rickrolling. You could do kind of like a convoluted sort of like stream to this wallet, stream to that wallet, stream out into Ricochet, stream from that wallet into the other wallet, and then stream out to Ricochet. But that would be like insanely difficult and weird to accomplish. So,
and honestly, I don't know. I mean, how much better off are you going to be than just like streaming for all the work? Like, I don't know if people value their time like to manage that, but
yeah, exactly.
I think you're better off if you want that. Just like stream to the Rex, stream to the launch pads, probably easier.
I want to weigh in on this. Like,
Yeah,
it would be interesting if we can add in tools that allow people to choose when to close their streams. Like they can set a time to close their stream and it just closes instead of having to manually do it at the time of the stream. I just think that's an interesting idea. It's been brought up by Daniel and a couple of other people, and I think it would bring more value to us so people wouldn't go into problems with liquidation and getting liquidated and forgetting their streams open.
Right. That's good.
I agree.
That's great. Yeah, I think that would come down to like making like kind of like a bot service that would basically like snipe your streams and turn them off when you basically specify. That kind of feels like a service in its own, like something that another Superfluid community member could like just go and like purpose for any kind of Superfluid streamer. But to take that and just make it ricochets and build that from our community would be really cool as well. Yeah.
Billy,
And I
you're
know-
off mute.
I
You want to
I'm
mute
muted now.
yourself? Oh, you muted him?
Yeah,
All right,
he
good.
kind of honked there. It's kind of funny.
I think it was a cell phone.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I think there also has been talk amongst the Superfluid people about like building out fixed length streams, and that's been kind of talked about in their protocol forums, which you can see on their YouTube channel. So
Yeah, that would be really cool because as of now, if you want to stream to someone, I've been working on the peer-to-peer streaming thing. If you stream to someone, you only have one option, which is the month option, and calculating how much you're able to afford, or that's not possible on the client side as of now. But that makes sense because we're just building it now. It's just an interesting idea. Thank you for your explanation, though.
yeah.
Yeah, Sonny, it's interesting what you said about them handling it at the Superfluid level, and I actually tend to agree that it's probably not something that we should spend our time on, and it's probably something that gets built into the protocol level. If that's the case, I mean, to me, it makes more sense to build it into the Superfluid protocol because I think every app that is going to be built, like, and also every person that uses it wants that, right? So I don't know if it makes sense to build that into our app or just kind of let the Superfluid team invest the time and energy to deliver that at the protocol level. And then once it's available at the protocol level, we could just take advantage of it in the app. Because we don't have a lot of, energy.
That makes sense, actually.
Yeah. When people ask for anything, my first thought is, are you going to do it?
Yeah.
I
would.
It's not about having the time. It's about having the energy and the expertise. So yeah, I mean, I know you would do it. Yeah. Cause I know you well. And, but the question is like, where does the energy come from and where does the expertise come from to do it?
And I think don't have the expertise, just the energy.
Yeah. The energy, you do it right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think the Superfluid team has money and they can buy energy and expertise.
All right, cool. Yeah, so it looks like the Rex Launchpad has been tracking the price of RIC pretty well. If you look here, basically very comparable. Currently, it looks like you're getting RIC at a little discount on the Launchpad compared to what it is on CoinGecko. But yeah, this is how it's going. We've got, I guess, 8.3K of revenue from the Launchpad. Just a reminder that when you buy RIC off the Launchpad, it goes straight to the Ricochet treasury, and that's good for us because you're basically like committing a stream to not only purchase your governance capital, not only purchase governance token, and earn a say in the Ricochet protocol, but also you're supporting the Ricochet multi-sig with a stream of funding pretty much. So.
Well, there's kind of a correction to that, which is that it actually doesn't stay in the treasury. It actually goes out the other side to the rexBank, and then it goes to the few people who are running bots that just take all the money.
Yeah, so there's kind of like a budget where that Launchpad money goes. So that's kind of the chart. And yeah, it looks like the rexBank people have been borrowing what we've been playing up. I think there's usually no more than like 100 USDC of liquidity at a time. It's pretty high demand product as people look to get liquidity against the RIC tokens instead of having to sell them on the open markets. And yeah, so this has been going, and hopefully when that rexBank V2 is deployed, we'll be able to actually realize this interest instead of having it just kind of like this implied figure here. And it has been our most profitable product, just implied. So to realize it would be awesome.
Actually, great. There is rarely any more than like $10 in there.
I thought,
I'll just say this on the call. I really don't appreciate the people who are just running bots. You're the reason that we have developers that don't want to work here, because you're just taking the money and holding it, or whatever you're doing with it, Rick rolling with it. You know, the intention wasn't to, you know, give that to people who were just gonna like hoard it or put it into LPs for other projects or yield farm other places. And, you know, obviously you can borrow it to buy, you know, more Rick tokens or Rick roll. But like the reality was like people at the project have bills to pay. And like the intent was like to let people have access to liquidity without getting rid of their Rick tokens. So I don't appreciate the people running bots. You know, I see you, we know your addresses, and we see what you do with the funds. And it's just ridiculous.
Mhm.
But that goes away. That's why the interest will be streamed, because that goes away. Which is
Yeah.
you won't be able to, it won't, well, for whatever reason, you know. And also like at a certain point, we're gonna update the price and liquidate you. So you'll lose your Rick collateral anyway. So I would just say like, just stop, just stop doing that. You know,
Yeah.
I see what you're all doing and it's really like silly.
Yep. All right. Let's bring this. So that concludes Ricochet Community Call number 17. Thank you all for coming. Now I'm going to open up the floor to any questions that people here may have. Feel free to unmute and ask them or put them in the chat. VJ did put in the link to the YouTube video where it's discussed on the protocol public forum regarding, you know, canceling your stream, you know, at a fixed date. So that's kind of discussed in the on the YouTube video that VJ put in the chat. So that's up. But any questions? Feel free to unmute or put in the chat. I know Jose did have something to bring up at one point in the call.
Yes. You want me to talk now?
Yep, we're at the free portion of the call where people can bring up their questions and everything.
Okay. Yeah, I was just telling them, as some people said on Discord, I don't really understand why the incentives are not aligned in this project. I mean, for the developers, because if we need more developers, but they receive a low liquidity token for us. I mean, they are not stable coins. So I don't really understand why we don't change the way of compensating, incentivizing the developers. I don't understand.
Sounds like a business development thing. Sounds like a business issue, right?
Yeah, but who takes the decision? Not me.
Sounds like a tokenomics issue.
No, it sounds like a business management issue, right? Doesn't sound like a tokenomics issue at all. I mean, you're talking about people getting incentivized to work here. And we can't just say that, oh, the tokenomics are flawed, because it's not a tokenomics problem. It's a human resources issue. It's a management issue. And the reality is, like, we're not putting enough energy into that, right? We all just sit here and complain about, oh, I'm not getting paid enough, the incentives aren't aligned. But the problem is, like, we try different things, you know, we make mistakes, right? But at least, you know, we're trying things. You know, people got a lot of Rick tokens, right? So I don't think, and there was a lot of incentive to work to come here and get Rick tokens, and people were on board with that. I mean, but the problem is that we give people a lot of Rick tokens, then we gave people the freedom to allocate Rick tokens in a decentralized way. And the result was we ended up giving a lot of Rick tokens for crappy work. And then, you know, created more work for, you know, people like me to have to go through and clean stuff up. right? So I don't think the issue is an incentive issue. I think the people here are here not because anyway, the reality is we just can't like cut checks to people. Like the reason we use the token is because it's just like, that's what the token was kind of created for. It's an incentive system, right? It's like giving away like coupons or like rewards points or whatever. Now, yeah, granted, you could use those reward points for things. The intention was that you could use those rewards points at the bank and you can borrow against them or, get liquidity that way. But that didn't obviously work out, and it takes energy and thought and work to fix that. And the reality is I'm working on version 2 smart contracts and I put a lot of energy into that. So yeah, like no one else was really doing any kind of management or human resources when it comes to that kind of a problem. And here we are, right? We're sitting on a call. The developers are not happy. A lot of developers left, and that's probably, not a problem, right? Because there are other people that will join, and that's how open source works. People come and go. But I propose a fix, right? And Shreyas has been really nice to kind of act on that. And, look, I'm just an architect here, right? So if I have to start architecting the business because Sunny's leaving, then yeah, I'll do that. But that just means that like, I'm not going to work on version 2 markets because it's one thing at a time for me. So I'm happy to do it. Version 2 is out. It works. As far as a protocol goes, the protocol has a pretty sustainable flow right now. And we could just stop development today, and the protocol would continue on, right? We don't need to do anything. The protocol would just exist. So yeah, I mean, like, what do we need to incentivize would be the first question. How are we incentivizing people? The second question. And I mean, I came up with the rexforce protocol as the way to do it. I don't think we need to change that. If someone thinks that what I proposed and architected is not the right answer, then someone needs to put forth something in a clear, coherent, actionable manner, similarly to just follow my lead on how things are done. And we can change that. Otherwise, people just need to be patient. And if you're not incentivized to be here, then go do something else. And I know that's harsh to say, and that's probably why we lose a lot of developers, but that's the reality.
Yeah, it is just a reality. I mean, this is a DAO, right? We're financially powered by the RIC governance token, not VC capital. And so, that's what we're going to have to compensate people with. And we do have revenue, and that does go to the rexBank. That's how we also kind of on the side, further compensate people on top of the RIC token, giving them an additional source of have liquidity on that so they can pay their bills and everything. But yeah, it's kind of the reality. That's facts.
Yeah, and I don't think this issue will be resolved or addressed until we get that, rexforce protocol that, kind of architected out. And I do think that will alleviate a lot of the concerns, because I think it is a incentive compatible system in the way that it's created, which is you get a base salary if you decide to opt in and take responsibility as a captain. Taking responsibility as a captain is something serious because you have to stake a significant amount. And once you become a captain, you have the ability to set your own bounties. And all you need to do to get paid, or all you need to do to earn the RIC tokens that you want to earn in the amount that you feel is fair for your work, is you just have to get another captain to sign off on it, right? So if you're, the base salary is almost not significant at all, it's mostly just a kind gesture, but it's pay per performance. So if you set bounties for yourself and you work on those bounties, and you can earn as much as you want in RIC tokens here. The problem is we tried basically decentralizing things, but it wasn't done in an incentive compatible way. The incentive was to just set bounties at high prices and then do menial things and not do them well, because there's no disincentive. There's no disincentive to just say, yeah, let's do this, let's just change the header, and let's, because I don't like the header, let's change the header and let's, get a 500 Rick or 1,000 Rick for it. And then when we add the header, we break, the connection for, wallets or whatever, or we break this other thing. And then it's just like, well, great. We already gave you those 1,000 Rick tokens and, you ran off with them. And now I have to step in and identify the problem and find someone who has the expertise to fix it, because I have no idea what's going on the front end. I didn't build the front end. So yeah, I mean, we tried that and it doesn't work because it wasn't incentive compatible. The RexForce protocol is designed in an incentive compatible way. It has a disincentive, it has incentives, and it's built in a decentralized way. And the only problem is that we're just not working hard enough on it, right? So it's like, yeah, we all want more. We all want to get paid. We all want to get more for our work. I actually realize it's 10:50. I have to get out of here. But
one thing I wanted to say though,
I have to go. It's 10:50.
Yeah,
so
that's fine. Well, it's just to the rest of the people. We kind of have an issue with like lack of documentation around a lot of very important things. Mm-hmm. And the issue that he's talking about is what ends up happening. Somebody fixes something in one place and that affects something somewhere else and causes the regression. And it's because we don't have documentation. Like I understand people are supposed to understand what they're looking at and fixing, but we have a massive code base, like very, very large code base. So there is some need for documentation, especially if people are working on something and leaving. Like let's say if you worked on some feature, then we need that ability to have and know what you're doing. Because I saw a lot of issues with rexBank due to somebody working on it and then leaving and not leaving any documentation.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge that we face because of the nature of like how our DAO is run, right? Like once you earn your bounty, you've gotten paid. You kind of like your belly's full, you finished your work, and there isn't really incentive to like give upkeep on that work. Do the documentation, make sure that other people can interface with that work appropriately and understand it. It's not like with a company where you have a salary and that work is your ownership, and when people want to integrate with that work or build on top of it or fix it or whatever, you don't have to be around, right? You just completed the bounty and you're done.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
Also, as an idea, sorry to jump around different topics. As an idea, maybe we could, when we were paying out bounties, like pay some of the bounty at least out in a stable coin, and then maybe the rest of it gets paid. Like it doesn't matter what the percentages are, but it kind of provides a source of stability for the developers that are like working on maintaining the long-term stuff. It's just an idea. I don't know what you guys think of that.
Yeah, I think that's a two-pronged kind of challenge. I think that's a great. So I'm running low on time. I gotta run, but I think that's a good thing to talk about in proposals. I think it's a good idea. I think it also comes with a budgetary challenge, right? Like you have to understand like how much do we have in our coffers, how much have we put in the rexBank, and how much do we actually have to offer if we were to pay out these bounties with X% in stablecoin. So definitely something to consider there, but good thing to take the proposal channel for later. Everyone, thank you so much for coming to today's call. Great turnout, and looking forward to continuing the discussion in Discord, and hope to see you at a future call. See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, I got one